Probably the major change from the other businesses you had to this one is that you don't have partners.
That is exactly the major change, and it's worked out for the best. Just rely on myself, not worry about what other people are thinking or doing. Plus, when you're the guy in charge, there's always somebody looking to try to take you down, right? And people are always wanting control. People are always thinking he's making more money than I'm making. He's more successful than I am. I want to do everything I can to take his golden egg, take it away from me. Yeah, now I don't have to worry about that.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This is Melanie Johnson, your host for the Elite Expert Insider podcast. And we have a great interview for you today. We have another author that is an international best-selling author from the compilation book, Entrepreneur Secrets, where entrepreneurs are telling you all the good dirt on how to be successful. And we have Mickey O Neal with us today, and he has had several businesses. He is a CPA, right? Mickey, are you a CPA?
Correct.
He has a CPA business. He's had a couple of those, and he has started multi-million-dollar healthcare businesses. We are going to dive deep into what has made him successful. Mickey, thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
So tell me a little bit how you got started and how you ended up having your own CPA firms.
That's a good, interesting story. I actually have been a CPA since 1979, but I graduated from the University of Houston in 75. And I really couldn't get into public accounting at that point in time because my grades weren't that good. And I didn't pass the CPA exam right out of college. So I took a job at the large construction company, Brown and Root, in 1971, worked there for 4 years, studied for the CPA exam, and then went to work for a large local CPA firm in Houston as an entry-level accountant after spending 4 years in private accounting. So I did completely backwards entry into public accounting than most people. Most people get really good grades in college, go to work for the Big Four, then take a work as a controller somewhere and work until they retire. I'm just the opposite. I went to work in private accounting, started at a large local CPA firm, and then I went to work for a Big Four firm at the time, Big Eight. That's how I date myself. I go back to the Big Eight days. That was at Cooper's and Library. I worked there for 4 years until I decided to start my own practice. And so I started my own practice in a real straightforward way with 4 clients, said they wanted me to do their accounting. That's back when I had the big, like the first portable computer was a big compact portable computer that looked like a sewing machine. And I would carry that around to 5 different clients. And each one of them promised me I could do their accounting for $500 a month. And so that was my initial revenue. But I've worked that model ever since then. What I do is I get a certain number of clients that are going to give me a baseline of revenue. That's going to take up a certain amount of my month. And then the rest of my practice around that. Essentially, that's how I did it. The first firm I started was in 1985, I believe, something like that, and grew it to be one of the top 25 CPA firms in Houston within about 5 years. And when that firm ended, it was O'Neal, McGinnis, and Tinsley. And then I started another firm, which was known as Thayer O'Neal. I started that in 2013 and grew that to be about 40 people and $4 million in revenue, and sold that in 2019 to my partners. Started the current firm in 2021. So we are currently a small CPA firm based in downtown Houston. I have 7 employees as of today. My daughter works for me. So it's a small firm, but it's really growing very quickly. So that's my history in public accounting in like a 5-minute brief essay.
Obviously, you didn't have, I love that. Thank you for that. Obviously, you didn't have a, non-compete at all of these places when you sold out because you just got to start over again. How did you manage to do that?
I actually did have a non-compete with the firm that I sold in 2019, and that did result in a little bit of litigation. It took about 5 years to get through that. I didn't violate the non-compete, but we got into litigation one way or the other. But I mitigated that non-compete by doing a mediated settlement agreement, which the other side of the litigation did not live up to their side of it. But long story short, I got through it. At any time you start a business, you have a professional services business, especially with partners, you end up with some issues, right? And so that's happened to me more than one time. And the thing I've learned about my current firm is it's much easier to be successful on your own than it is with partners. It was
Uh,
kind of a way I fooled myself when I was younger, thinking I needed partners in order to have somebody to fall back up on in case there were hard times. But in reality, it would have always been best if I would just relied on my own expertise. 'Cause that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years, and it's been really beneficial. I don't have people to answer to. Say that again. I've lost your.
Probably the major change from the other businesses you had to this one is that you don't have partners.
That is exactly the major change, and it's worked out for the best. Just rely on myself, not worry about what other people are thinking or doing. Plus, when you're the guy in charge, there's always somebody looking to try to take you down, right? And people are always wanting control. People are always thinking he's making more money than I'm making. He's more successful than I am. I want to do everything I can to take his golden egg, take it away from me. Yeah, now I don't have to worry about that.
What would you say besides being a solopreneur versus being a partner that you've learned from those years in business that you're doing, that you learned by under fire for this new business?
It's a matter of taking risk and measuring the amount of potential benefit you're going to get from taking a risk, and what it really takes to grow a professional services firm. Whenever you grow a professional services firm, your primary cost is salaries. And so I know what it takes to develop a firm now and what it costs to add staffing. So right now we're in a ramp up phase. I just recently hired 3 new employees, and I have a really good feel for how much uh, lead time I have before they'll start paying back once I invest in those people. And also how we structured contracts with our clients to make sure that we've got some of those costs covered on the front end. So it's a matter of taking a risk and judging how fast it's going to turn the investment around into a profitable line of business, if that makes sense.
It does. I mean, they say each employee should generate a certain percentage of revenue for you that costs so doing that math ahead of time makes sense, I think.
But
And
it
I
takes
like how you built in reoccurring revenue. You're like, okay, if I have so much reoccurring revenue, I know that's going to cover my payroll and other expenses. And then the other stuff is kind of the icing on the cake.
just like back in 1985 when I had 5 clients paying me $500 a month to do their bookkeeping. I have currently about 40% of our practice is on fixed price agreements. So I find my clients like fixed price agreements. They like to know what their fees are going to be before they pay them. And so the way we work that is we determine what their compliance efforts are going to be, how many tax returns have to be prepared, franchise taxes, income taxes, personal and business. We calculate what that's going to be. We put her in a 12-month contract and they pay 1/12 of that a month. And so that's the base really of my business. And it has been, it's been a great way to get started because it creates some evening out of revenues. Most CPA firms, the revenue is very periodic. Most CPA firms collect 60% of their revenue on April 15th, but ours are spread out a little bit, and that gives us some cushion in case we have any cash flow deficits along the way.
Yeah, it really gives you comfort, when you're doing that. In your book, you talk about mindset over marketing. So, how do you have mindset over marketing?
I don't know, really. I've always been marketing oriented. I've always been oriented to getting new clients and developing a marketing approach to just doing networking and that kind of thing, if that makes sense. So ever since I've been in practice, I've had the same marketing director work for me for 3 different CPA firms. Her name's Brenda Cheney, and she has been a marketing director for me for almost 30 years. And in my last firm, her primary objective and what I wanted her to do is to create a brand for our firm. And she did that by posting on social media and that kind of thing. And so it's just that background of having social media postings on LinkedIn or that kind of thing. So whenever I get a chance to make a proposal, if somebody's heard our name, it increases our likelihood of getting that job substantially, right? And so that marketing presence has really been beneficial for us. And we do a lot of networking in lots of different ways. I'm a member of the Downtown Rotary Club and a Vistage member, and all those little networking activities really pay off because we get new clients pretty much every day.
That's great. And like if people don't know who you are, they can't hire you. And I like that you say when people know you or seen your name before, like we've gotten clients even because of these podcast interviews that people have seen us and they're like, oh, I remember you. I like what you said. I kind of already know what you do. So it gives that familiarity and trust factor. I think when they already see you in today's platform, yeah, I used to be in the TV business, but today's platform is all about social media and everything's on your phone. You also talked about, like, you talked about partners and you talked about there should be trust and alignment and a variety of things when you're looking for a partner. Talk about what you think, because there are a lot of entrepreneurs that really do are looking for a partner and don't want to do it by themselves and have either one or two or three or four partners. What should you be looking for when you're looking to partner with somebody?
Integrity. Quite frankly, that's been the downfall of many of the partners that I've had. You choose people with the wrong outlook in life and the wrong motivation. You want people that are like you. Our tagline is accuracy, integrity, and client service. And integrity is what my clients look at us for. And if you end up with a partner that doesn't have the same belief system that you do,
Mhm.
it's going to go down in the long run. They may cover it up in the short term. And I've basically had issues. Not all partners that I've had have had issues that way, but the ones that created the most havoc have not had the same character qualities that I look for in people that I want to associate with, right? Honesty, integrity, doing the right thing and under pressure. Those are important in a professional services firm.
Yeah, you can't put a money value on that integrity part. And it's hard to know. Like when you're talking to someone, you almost have to run scenarios by them before you jump into an agreement with them or a partnership with them, because you may say they talk the game of integrity, but then they really aren't. So, I mean, I guess it's following up and checking other people resources, but it's so easy, just like when you're falling in love with someone, just to, oh, it's all there. It's chemistry. What they're saying is great. And then next thing you're in a partnership that's maybe not so good. So really being careful about that.
Absolutely. It's important.
And then you talked about mentorship a little bit. What were mentors in your life that were important to you that helped you?
That's a good question. I haven't had a lot of good mentors in my life outside of my parents. If you look at my background, you wonder where how I became an entrepreneur because my father worked for the same company for all of his career. My mother didn't work at all. So I didn't really have a mentor who was an entrepreneur. I just created an entrepreneurship my own way based on my own resources and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Interestingly, my children, many of them are entrepreneurs. I have a son that's in real estate and he's got his own business and amazed at the kind of thing that he's done. A son that's a lawyer that's done the same thing. So I haven't really had many entrepreneurs that I would say, other than people that are outside of my business network that I've looked up to.
And what do you feel like? Have you mentored other people?
I spent all morning this morning mentoring people. I've really developed a lot of young people to grow up to succeed in the public accounting environment. And it's a lot of people don't really give you the recognition to get the tools, they get the training, they go out and they get a job somewhere. And sometimes they'll come back and tell you, hey, that was really good. I appreciate all the training that you gave to me. But a lot of times they just go on, become successful, and you get rewarded by seeing them advance in their career.
Yeah, I guess you can't always get the pat on the back, but just knowing that you did something good,
Right.
whether they say thank you or not, it's always nice to get the thank you. But even if you see their success, it makes you feel like you had success and you leave a footprint. And that's one of the reasons I like about you writing this chapter is here it's in writing. You're leaving a footprint that's in writing and in a book that's going to last for perpetuity, which is really cool. So it's like you get to be a mentor. I would say people, when you have a book, you're a mentor even when you're not here anymore to do that. And then you talk about it's so important to give back. I remember when we started our company, I mean, when I had a TV station, we did a lot of donations to charity and things like that. And then when I started the publishing company, I kind of, I got so caught up in growing the company and getting it started that I forgot about the giving back part. And then all of a sudden the light bulb went on. I'm like, oh, well, wait a minute. So, how is that important? And how do you decide how you should give back?
You pick and choose the environments in which you want to give back or be involved with the community. And we do that in lots of different ways. I've been a member of Rotary and several different clubs as I've moved around different parts of Houston. I think Rotary is a great community service organization that gives me the opportunity to help
Mhm.
people that are underprivileged and not just in Houston, but in international community as well. In our business, when I started my last firm, we started doing a golf tournament. We've been putting on a golf tournament for the last 10 years. We have one coming up at the end of March on March 30th. And we find that is a great way to get the community involved and to help us promote things that we think that are important in the community. For the last 9 years, we've donated to the lymphoma, Leukemia Lymphoma Society of Houston, with Brenda as the vice president. This year, we're donating to the Rotary Foundation of Houston because they need a little boost in their finances. But I've always done that type of thing, but really more in the last 10 years than I was when I was young. It's only so much you can do when you're young and starving, but when things get a little bit better, you can help and start. And I really find being in public accounting really is a community. We have networking events that we put on. We have the same entrepreneurs and friends of the firm come to our meetings on a regular basis. We have a cigar social we do once a month, and we have a networking meeting called the Entrepreneurs Network. And that really has created a community of people that like to hang out together and give back to different charitable sources and foundations and that kind of thing.
I love that. Now, you work with a variety of different businesses over the course of your career, and you say in your chapter, know your numbers. So what does that mean? Should we be looking at them every day? Should we be looking at them once a week, just once a month, once a quarter?
At
And
least
what numbers should we really be dialed in and making sure we're paying attention to?
at least once a month. Most people don't de-emphasize basic bookkeeping and accounting, much money into it. But if you, in our firm, we don't do any bookkeeping. We have a strategic partner that we refer all of our bookkeeping clients to. And the reason I like that group is because they do a hard close every month. And it's one of the things that most people don't do is they just keep going, keeping their books open. They might look at their financial statements once every 6 months, once a year. I think it's important to have a hard close once a month for any small business where they pull their financial statements and look at them. It's that financial statement review process that, in my opinion, is really critical because that's an internal control feature. If you look at your financial statements and something looks out of whack, it's better than if you reconcile your bank account every month, right? Reconciling your bank account is important, but some people overemphasize clerical issues and de-emphasize the basics of looking at their financial statements and knowing what their numbers say. And these days, financial analysis reports are so easy to create they're built into QuickBooks Online nowadays and almost any accounting software that you have. You can actually input your financial statements into ChatGPT and it'll give you a quick financial analysis. So these days, there's no reason not to look at your numbers, but it's important that you do close your books once a month and see and review it with your financial representative, whoever that might be, your CPA, your financial services representative, and that kind of thing.
What does that mean, a hard close? Does that mean you just say, this is the revenue we had this month, and then the revenue from, let's say, this is the revenue for the month of March, and then here's the revenue you had from January, February, March, and you're doing pacing numbers? What
From
does
my
that mean?
perspective, hard closes, I got a day of the month after the month that I'm talking about where I'm going to look at financial statements. It might be the 5th, it might be the 15th, it might be the last day of the next month. But on that day, you're going to pull financials and you're going to look at it. And a lot of people say, I don't have time. I can't do that. If you're a publicly traded company, Exxon has to present their financial statements within 45 days of the end of each quarter. If Exxon can do it, most small businesses can. If people de-emphasize that, and I think it's really important.
Yeah, I think it's so true. I mean, if you don't keep track, if you only do it like half a year or even quarterly, there's so many things you could miss. And I like having pacing. I learned that when I was in the television business that we would always do pacing figures. How are we compared to the last 4 years from the first quarter to now, or, from the last 6 months of the last 4 years? How does that compare? Are we up? Are we down? What was causing this? And so you can really do an analysis. I like doing that. Do you recommend that?
I do. Let me give you a story, and this happens regularly in my business. In August of this past year, I was able to make contact with a small business owner, and he had a bookkeeper. And so I reviewed her books and pointed out what I thought were her errors. And she said, okay, I'm going to fix those errors and I'll get to it next month. Next month came along. She didn't quite have enough time to get it done. And the same thing and the same thing and the same thing. So December 15th, I said, look, it's time to do a tax planning review. Let's pull the books and go through it. And still, it was the same aggravating issues that she had in August. And she just kept pushing it back. And this happens more times than you realize. That people just they have a bookkeeper that keeps making excuses or whatever, and it just keeps getting pushed off. Whereas if you just did a hard close, that means on the 15th day of March, you look at February's books. Even if you don't have every little thing reconciled, you do a complete review and you get a feel for where you are. You compare it to this time last year. You compare it to key benchmarks. I think it's important to know what the benchmarks are, what were your goals as far as revenue, how much did you need to build for the month, and how did that compare? So just going over those key performance indicators and looking at the history and doing it on a regular basis is critical.
Yeah, you have to have a
That
bookkeeper.
bookkeeper, by the way, is gone now. He got
Oh,
replaced.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me why you decided to be part of the Entrepreneur Secrets book and write a chapter in a book now.
That's a good question. I'm not exactly sure. It seemed like a worthwhile project, and I like the idea of being in a community of entrepreneurs that are sharing their story. It's always good to share my story, and I'd actually like to write a book by myself at some point in time. Once I get to the point where I'm winding my business down, which will happen in the next few years. You can't keep doing this forever. And although I don't think I'll ever completely retire, there will be a time where I won't produce as much and will create. And so this would be like a first step in creating a story, right? And I would like to write some kind of book. Not sure exactly what I'd like to write, but I'm interested in doing that.
Yeah. Well, I think that is such a good start when you start with the first chapter and you go, oh, this wasn't so bad. This wasn't so hard. You can go from there. Tell
Exactly.
people where they can, were you going to say something else?
No, I said exactly. You're exactly right.
Yeah. Well, Mickey, tell people where they can find you.
Easiest way is by my website, which is at o'nealcpa.net, www.o'nealcpa.net. You get my phone number and my address on there. It's the easiest way. I'm also on LinkedIn. You're not going to be too many Mickey O Neals in Houston that are CPAs, so you can do that search. I'm sure you can find me.
If you're looking for an excellent CPA, give Mickey a holler, and I'm sure his team can really help you and save money. He's got tons of expertise. And pick up the book, Entrepreneur Secret. I'm Melanie Johnson. Thanks for joining us today. And if you're looking to become an author and a #1 bestseller, reach out to us at eliteonlinepublishing.com. And have a great week, everyone. See you next time. Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.